Welcome back to Queen's Chronicles. It's your girl, Danielle Mangrum.
I'm TPerry.
Louise Parker.
Latasha Tomlin.
So this week we have a very, very important and special topic. Personally to me, we are talking about godly women. What is a godly woman? What is the standard of a godly woman in 2019? Has the standard changed in 2019 than it was in the 1980s or the 1990s when my mom was, growing up, or our grandmothers were growing up? How has the standard changed? Is the standard different as we think about who a godly woman should be as opposed to what society says a woman should be? So we have lots of things we want to cover today. Who wants to start us off? So what is a godly woman, in your opinion?
It's such a broad. It's such a because you want to attach. She should dress a certain way. She should look a certain way. But I think that the best way to describe a godly woman would be Proverbs. Was it Proverbs 31?
No, I knew somebody was going to go there,
but that's
deep,
so hard to
obtain.
She make her own. She sold her. She grow her own baby. She clothed and feed, and her right up called her good. I mean, it's just so much for Proverbs 31.
I love it. Respect.
But
I'm just trying to read Proverbs 32.
How do you? What Proverbs is that?
I don't know.
Right. I guess my question more so is, how do you balance not necessarily being a godly woman, but living like a godly woman when everything around you says to be something else?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think one of the hardest things, especially, and I go back because I am to be a single woman, because we're told to find him, and you go on, But how
to find you? But that's
what
you're told,
that's
right?
not what society knows. Society says
Right.
you get up, you join 15 different dating sites, and then you go and you go to the bar, and you go to the sports bar, and nobody's gonna come to So how do you maintain that level of godliness and not be arrogant? Because there's a fine line between being godly and being arrogant.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that we feel like, I'm in the church and you're in the club, and so somehow I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's a fine line between living godly and not being judgmental.
I think the word that comes to mind for me is standards. And so you have to define, what it is to be a godly woman, but you have to have a certain level of standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so again, if you're putting God at the forefront of that, what does God say a woman should look like? What is the standards and the expectation that God has for someone? And if you have those as your standards, then anyone you come in contact with is going to know those are your standards, and they're going to have to rise to the occasion.
There's so much pressure. I mean, if I think about my own personal life, and many can connect, in school, go to work, got these kids ranging from 20 to 6, and trying to find some me time, got a whole husband, and all of these things. It's almost like people are waiting for your crown to drop. And so when you're trying to walk as that godly woman, I think for me, when I'm at my godliness or whatever you want to
You and God are one.
We are just so united, and I'm loving him and he's loving me. He never stops loving me, but it's when I'm connected. I always go this way because this relationship impacts these relationships. When I'm connecting with him first, then I don't have to think so hard. It just kind of comes naturally. But Trinice, off air, we were kind of talking a little bit about godliness in our social media.
Yes.
Right? Yes. I mean, even the things that we like. There's a girl, I wish I could call your name so you can go friend her. She's hilarious. She cracks me up. But should I condone her hilarity? Is that a word?
Hilarity.
I mean, she cracks me up. But I know that some of the things that she says, had I been with my women's ministry, I wouldn't want them to know that I necessarily cracked up at that thing. I don't want to be judgmental, but there's certain things that there's standards for me, like you said, that don't exist for a woman who is just living their best life or doing life the way that they would want to. So no, I should not probably hit that ha-ha. I should not probably share. I don't need to comment and say, young, keep them coming. You know, even if I look, that's my business, because sometimes it's not about your relationship, because God is like, you're good, but I don't want to make Danielle stumble because I hit that ha-ha, because somebody else may be struggling with that thing where it's not a struggle for me. So it's not, I think that when you're a godly woman, you're not thinking about just you, you're thinking about how your life and your light shines or impacts others.
Is who I am, is who I am on Sunday who I am on Monday. And so that has a little bit to do, that has a lot to do with that sense of standard and that definition of godly. Because so many people walk around and they're this one person, you know, on Sunday. But if your pastor, bishop, hey bishop, comes to your job on Monday and talks to the people you associate with or sits and watches you, is your light going to shine? You know, what is the standard that you're holding? You know, I take pride when people, you know, have said something, they say, oh, I can't say that around you because you're, I'm like, yes, I am. You know, because I've been that other person where they're giving the jokes and stuff, and my light hasn't shined. So there's no standard. And they be like, right, what you think?
Let me show all my toes because I love a good laugh. And when I say I love a laugh, I will laugh or I will make laugh. Even when it may, you know, I'm being transparent, it may not always be completely and totally appropriate. Not that it's, you know how you just teeter on that line? If you have to think about it, just don't say it. And I know that one of the things that's been spoken over my life is Latasha. For 2019, think before you speak. And it's those words, we hear them all the time, but no, for real, slow down, pause, and think before you speak. And that ha-ha or that like or that love is speaking.
I would say definitely for being a godly woman, just to go back, it's like you said, it's about capturing all aspects of your life. So it's not just about being a godly woman when you're dating, but what are you, like you said, what are you liking on Facebook? What are you liking on Instagram? Who are you following on Instagram? That's something else that people. I've actually, when I was living in Indianapolis, I actually went to a church, and just I don't know why I was looking at the pastor's profile and some of the people that he was following, and I'm like, you are a shepherd of this house. And to me, it really shows who you follow reflects the type of person that you are. So if you are following, or if you have people that are following you, that you feel like you wouldn't be, or your pastor or God wouldn't be pleased with to see those type of people on your profile, that says a lot about who you are. So let's not just isolate, oh, I'm just a godly woman when it comes to dating, or my standards are high, but you're following inappropriate pages on social media, or you're liking things on, or you may not be following, but you know what to search in to get to those pages because you don't want anybody to see that you follow those pages. Let me tell you, what happens in the dark always comes to the light.
And not only that though, I want you to know on social media, we know when you like something. Like, like it's not like like you thinking, oh no, if on Instagram, right? If I go to my followers or my friends' pages, I can see what they've liked throughout the day. I can see what they've commented on. You can see it. And so, and I think that we try to separate social media from life. We call social media, my friends and I, fake make believe. It's the land, because on social media, everybody has the best life. Everybody has the best kids. They have the nicest cars. They live. It's the best thing ever. But it's also leading to more broken homes. It's leading to more suicide. Because it's a fiction, right? And so I am very conscious about what I like on Instagram. Because I'm like you. I don't want anybody to say, and I'm a pastor. I'm an associate pastor at my church, and so there are people like kids who are on my Facebook page. There are, my page is my Instagram page is open. My makeup one is open, and so I'm very, very funny about what I comment on, because what you never gonna say is Reverend Trinice thought this was funny, or Reverend, because I don't want to get to heaven have to answer why your blood's on my hands. You know what I mean? I'm very, especially when it comes to like. And I'm like, I love a good laugh. I'm my own comedian. I make me laugh. But I'm conscious about some of the videos that come across. Some of the memes be hilarious.
Did you hear me?
What?
Have you seen the one?
But I think to myself, God, can I share that? I pause. Can I share that? And so my co-pastor, our co-pastor, first lady, she don't have social media, but she be knowing what be on social media, right? And so my best friend and I be like, no, we know she saw it, because she'll be like, so the other day, that, you be like, how you know that? So I know she watching, but better than that, God is watching.
Yeah, and
God is watching.
I always think with social media, I mean, not even thinking about it. Okay, let's say you don't even care about the godliness, but my mom always taught me, let me tell you, you wondering why the jobs aren't calling you back. You wondering why, people know all of your business because you use social media as an outlet.
As your diary.
As your diary. And let me tell you, and then you wondering why you keep applying for these jobs and nobody's calling you back, or these colleges that you're applying to and you're not getting accepted. My godmother, who lives in California, is a headhunter. And that's the number one thing that she says she always does. She always looks at the person's social media, because your social media, it really does. If it's supposed to be a fake reality and you are sharing things that show a lot about who you are, even though it's a fake reality, that's a reflection of you. And so if you don't have a type of what's the word I'm looking for, a filter on whether or not you feel like you should post something or not, and you're posting whatever because it's funny or it gives you a good laugh, I'm telling you, that could be trickling down into the rest other aspects of your life, things that you've been asking God for. It could be something as small as, what are you posting on your social media?
And not only that, once it gets posted, it never can be
even when
deleted.
It's still there.
Once it gets posted, once it enters the realm of the internet, and as fabulous as the internet is, please know, again, I will say, the internet is destroying marriages. It's hurting. I mean, it's because people are misusing it.
Yeah.
And when you think about God, I tell people all the time when I minister, whether I'm teaching women or now young kids or doing women now, I'll say, every day you leave your house, you are a walking advertisement. What are you advertising? Right? Like, I'm not here to say you can't wear that dress or you can't wear that shirt, but what does that shirt advertise about you? What does it say about you? There are 1,000 that we can list as godly, attributes. But the bigger thing is, does it represent God? You know what I mean? I remember when I was 16, I was broken, but I've always been very heavily blessed in the top area. Y'all get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when I was broken, no, you don't get what I'm saying. You know what? I was like, wait, you mean me? But just top heavy. But when I was broken, I used it to attract the men's attention. So I wore the lowest cut top I could find. I wore the bra that was 2 sizes too small because it pushed me, bigger. I did all of the extra stuff, right? And
that was before filters, when people are doing it with their camera.
Right, you would do what? I was like, couldn't breathe. Don't sneeze. Don't sneeze.
Yeah.
Just when you want to say. So, but that was my style of dress. Yeah. But where was the God in that? At 16, I was saved. I was going to church every Sunday. I didn't have church. My mom was old school. You went to church on Sunday morning. So, but what was it advertising? And now, on the flip side of that coin, if I'm in church, right? And so now I know better. So my skirts are longer, right? The godly woman doesn't shun the other girl who doesn't know better, right? Godly women don't shun or don't put down or don't cause an offense to somebody who may not be where you are. See, now you didn't clean, you didn't walk with God a little bit longer, so your hinting got longer and your tops got, better. But that girl who's 17, 19, 21, 45, 50, who's still broken, who coming through the church house doors, she don't know better.
Yeah, that's
she don't know
something
better.
that I struggle with because, being the pastor's daughter, I mean, literally, specifically when I went to college. So I really got social media when I was in high school. But when I went to college and I got a little freedom, that was something that I hated. It was always somebody telling my mother or my father, Danielle posted this, Danielle posted that. And so, literally, I think my second semester of my freshman year, I went down my whole friend list.
She sure did.
Wow. I went down my whole friend list and blocked anybody that lived. I'm sorry, forgiveness. We just talked about that. We talked about forgiveness. But let it go for real. But I literally, and it was just because I was like, allow me to live my life, and because of who my parents are, it was an extra magnifying glass, and so it's like things that my friends could post that I thought was harmless, I would post. And and so what I ended up doing was, instead of doing a soul search, like, okay, maybe there are some things that I need to change on my page, I did the opposite, which was I just said, all right, so just to prevent things from getting back to my parents, and my parents would never, they let me do whatever I want, but like certain things, like a few times they would say, yeah, so and so, or the person would tell me like, yeah, I told your mom, but you put, like stuff like that. But it really took a lot of soul searching for me to realize. So now that I'm 23 years old and I've lived life, it's like I don't post certain things
you
because
live life.
Well, I have.
You better claim that. Now that I'm 48 and I haven't lived life
So what
yet.
they're not about to do is
I
play
smell
with
the
me.
Similac.
They're not about to play with me.
But there's
They're not
Similac.
about to
There's
play
Similac on my
with
leg.
me.
So go ahead,
Like I
boo.
was saying.
Yes, boo. Yeah,
I think I've lived life. I mean, I have a lot more living to do.
Absolutely, yes.
God, thank you, Jesus, in advance. But yeah, so, but like that's something that I've struggled with. Just people, on, like you were saying, shunning, like, wow, that's the pastor. Why she posting that? Why she?
Yeah.
First of all, your daughter is posting things 10 times worse. Don't worry about your own home. Why you worried about my social media home?
Sweep
My
my own
social
front
media?
door.
Okay, but yeah,
freedom.
So now when I post, I'm more deliberate in what I post, not because it makes me laugh. Now, some things, if I see that it may not be inappropriate, but it may offend someone else. Yeah. And with jobs, we live in a world where we are the minority, so you have to be mindful of that. And so now, if it's something funny, I'll just send it to myself. Now it's going to be always in like you were saying, it's always going to be in the web somewhere. But certain things, like, I'll send it to myself if I want a good laugh. But certain things, you have to figure out what is good for your people to see and what's good just for you. Exactly.
My mother used to always say, my mother's, old, hey, Ma, it's okay, I'm going to get there. She used to say things like, show me your company and I'll tell you who you are. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what does that mean? When you're like 15, you hear all the time. I'm like, what? And so I finally said, well, what does that mean? And she was like, you are a reflection of the people you hang around. Yeah, and so even if you think you're not them, if they're your friends, there's something that brings you together. And so you can't speak one thing and walk something else. Yeah. As we're talking about, being godly, like, your circle has to reflect that, in some way.
That's why you can't be judging nobody. Well, how can you judge when you are surrounded by, like you said, birds of a feather flock together?
That's right.
So if you're judging the person that's in your circle, there's a reason why you guys connect. So you judging that person, the three fingers are pointing back at you.
But you know what I've learned? The older I get, and the more I grow in God, my circle changes.
Absolutely.
Always does.
My circle changes. And it's not because I'm going, I'm more spiritual than you, so I can't rock with you. What am I becoming a pastor and Savior? You're not a pastor, and you're not a pastor. Most of my friends are ministers, believe it or not. But what I'm learning is, as you said, I am at a place where what are we giving? What are we adding to each other? What's our trade-off? Yeah. Right? Like how am I building you, and how are you building me? Because when I think about godliness, there are times as a human I'm going to stumble, right? Yeah. I need my friend to be like, boo, you left right now. But baby, come back. You on that other side right now. And so when I think about godliness, I think about it in every area, right? And am I godly? And let me say this: I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about relationship. Yes. Because in my godly relationship, God will tell me when I'm doing too much. Mm-hmm. God will tell me when that post is inappropriate. God will tell me when that skirt's too short, when I'm pants too tight. Yep. When I walk in relationship with Him, God will define my level of godliness. He'll be like, oh, that's too much. And quickly, like, it won't be like a month down the line. It'll be, oh no, you were wrong, go apologize.
Yeah. And He'll tell you the relationships you need to have and the ones that need to go away as well. And that's the most important thing that He's done. You know what I'm saying? Like, as you build a relationship with Him, because He's a jealous God, He'll let you know what relationships He wants you to have, because you don't want a relationship, an outside relationship, to hinder the relationship you have with Him. So whoever He puts in your circle, He's going to make sure that that relationship is uplifting the relationship that you've already developed with Him, or is making it better.
That's right. And let me tell you, that clearly, that is my story. I can relate to that. When I got to a place in life where I said, God, I want a better relationship with You. Like, I want to be able to do what You want me to do and I need you to help me to get there because I recognized I couldn't do it on my own. And I didn't know how God was going to answer that. And then God sent me a friend, you know, and God sent me the friend who was going to help me to get to where he wanted me, you know, to be. And I had to be like, okay, well, I don't know if I like this person. And I had to kind of go through that and pay attention to the camera.
Yeah.
And so, yes. And it's because, and this is the friend.
Purple?
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't even know.
This is the friend that God sent me.
She's like, that's a good friend.
And so she's like, oh wow, wonderful. But I didn't, but, you know.
I gotta meet her one day.
And so see, and so he sends you not what you want, but what you need. You know, and so he sends me a godly woman who is an associate pastor of a church to be able to help me to get to the place where I have more of a relationship with him and someone who checks me from a spiritual side. And I was like, God, you got to send to you for real, because I didn't know you was going to send me.
Yeah.
Right.
Never
You-
know what you need.
You never know what you need until he sends it to you.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're so welcome.
Wow.
That was funny. I was looking like,
She's looking like,
who is this person
was.
you're talking
No, she
about?
was feeling some type of way.
She-
I thought I was her closest.
But you know, but I mean, but that's just how God is. When you're open to God and when you say, God, I need, right? Not God, I want, right? Because there's a difference between wants and needs. But when you say, God, I need a friend, right? Who will keep me on the straight and narrow. I need a friend who will show me you, right? Because sometimes, God, even though I serve you, right, and I usher and I sing in the choir, sometimes I forget you. Sometimes I'm so busy being Reverend so-and-so and Deaconess so-and-so and Doctor so-and-so and Mommy so-and-so and Wife so-and-so and Supervisor so-and-so. We as women, right, we carry so many titles and we got to be one person at work. So sometimes, like you said earlier, it's hard trying to remember, you know, what standard I should be living, what I should be walking, because I'm so busy walking 15 other hats. I'm so busy trying to be, you know, but that's when your quiet time comes in.
Yeah.
That's when that time when you have, this is what I say, give me relationship over religion any day of the week. Because relationship will make me have quiet time. It will make me have to plug in my battery to God and say, God, give me. I need, because I'm on empty, right? And so when we talk about living godly, I have to break in your talk. What does your word say? Because part about living godly is speaking godly. And I'm not saying thou shall walk holy all the time. I'm saying, are you calling yourself stupid? Are you calling yourself ugly? Are you in the mirror going, you're fat, so you're nobody, I love you? What does, I'll never have anything. I'll never be anybody. This is how my family was. This is how so-and-so, this is how my dad was. This, you know, does your speech, because at the end of the day, you are what you think, and you think what you speak. So whatever I'm saying out of my mouth, I believe, it's a part of me that believes it. If I'm saying I'm fat, it's a part of me that believes that I'm fat. If I'm saying that I'm ugly, somewhere within me, I believe that I'm ugly.
Right.
So you can't live godly but speak death.
And the more you speak it, the more you'll be it. So, you know, maybe you were fat and you gained a few pounds, but you keep telling yourself that, then you're going to continue to do fat behaviors. And that, not even to be funny, you'll eat more, you'll be more lethargic, you won't move around. If you say you're ugly, you won't present your best self, because, and when we think about godly women, sometimes we can trip people up because of our own vanity. Because when God spoke about godliness and beauty, he talked about what was within and her works and the things that she did that impacted others and her relationship with him, not with your red bottoms and not with your bag and not with your new Chanel dress. None of those things are bad. But when your vanity rubs itself off on your sister and she can't sit beside you because her dress is from New York and Company, or her crew is not good because that's the Gap crew and we are the Neiman Marcus crew, you know, that's not being a godly woman.
That's right.
And then another thing that I think separates the godly woman from the ungodly is the chitter and the chatter and the gossip, right? So not only am I taking me down, I have to bring you with me because, girl, did you
Misery loves company.
That's
right.
right.
And then, girl, did you hear? And then it goes here, and I think that we as women have all, if we're honest with ourselves, gotten caught up in that, and that's something I'm consciously making an effort, even if I'm not having the discussion, or if it's, why do I have to listen?
Yeah, why
Am I? So what do I say to stop that conversation short? Because as opposed to say, you know what, after they're done, I don't want to hear that. You done heard it now. You know, so something about that tea was good. You kept on sipping. How do we turn away from the tea?
Yeah, and also I think that, like I say this all the time, is that when you announce I'm a Christian, right? When you tell somebody, oh, I go to church, I believe in God, you automatically put this spotlight that follows you everywhere you go, right? And the more people that know, they may never say to you, oh, I'm watching you, but they're watching you.
Yeah.
Because in a world where it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference, people are looking for the difference. In a world where it's easy to blend, people want someone to stand out.
They do,
right? And so I have people at work who say, I can't be your friend on Facebook. I can't, right? And I was like, what? What do you mean? Like, I'm the most, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I get that. Because you're right. I can't see everything. I don't want to see everything, right? But at the same time, how does my light influence you?
Yeah.
Right? When I think about being godly, I think about influence. I think about God's grace. I think about showing God's love. And if anybody can tell you, my big thing is that whatever I do, let it be in love. If I correct you, let it be in love. If I have to give you a good sister elbow rub, let it be in love. Because at the end of the day, God's commandment to his people was love. And so being godly for me is being lovable. It's loving those who are unloved. I can love my good girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
But my coworker who get on my nerves on Thursday morning at 2:35 in the afternoon at my 15th meeting for the day, what? Can you love them? You know what I mean? That's what I think about being godly. Being godly, to answer the question in the beginning when we first started talking, being godly means showing love. In a season, out of season. And
making a conscious decision to be a godly woman until it becomes a part of who you are, becomes a part of your identity. Because I know sometimes, because you could be a godly woman, you can say I'm a godly woman all day long, but your flesh is still there. And if you don't keep your flesh in check, that godly woman will go disappear when somebody says something disrespectful, or you in your 15th meeting, or somebody doesn't know what to say when they confront you. So I think that's important too. Like, yes, we want to be godly women, but understand that you have to make a conscious decision that, you know what, I'm going to make a godly woman decisions. I'm going to be a godly woman, and I'm going to live my life in a way where I am showing the rewards of being a godly woman. What does a godly woman look like? Because I think that's such an important part. In a world where everybody is trying to be the same, everybody wants to look the same, everybody wants to have the same hairstyle, there are people that are dying. They are desperate for change. They need the word of God. And so because we live in this world where everything is so superficial, everything, like you said, when we're talking about social media, everything on social media looks like everybody's living the perfect life, but behind closed doors, these people, we're seeing kids committing suicide. People going into schools, shooting up schools. So, this rise of mental health and mental illness and depression and anger, all these things. And it's like, but on the outside, it looks like everybody's happy. Everybody's content. And what the problem is that God has been removed out of these situations. God has been removed out of these schools. God has been removed out of our churches. Let's just be real. You know what I'm saying? We are in dire need. I'm talking about in America, all around the world, we are in dire need of godly women who are not trying to conform. They are trying to transform, because that's another thing too. We think that if we want to reach out to the masses, we have to conform to be with them. No, there's a way of reaching out to somebody and showing them that this is the right way to live. Now, you don't have to conform, but at the same time, you can't judge. But you have to, meet them in a way where they feel entitled, or they feel like they want to be a part of it, and not, because one thing I didn't like growing up was when people Sunday school teachers would say, they would probably try to guilt trip you. You know what I'm saying? That never it never worked for me. If you don't do this, you're going to hell. And I actually teach middle school now. And I remember last year I was teaching my 8th graders, and we were talking about, they were asking me things about hell and things like that, and I went on this tirade. I mean, I just went off. I was like, and you going to hell because you listen to that music? And I was getting upset as I was talking to them because they were not budging. They was like, yeah, okay. And matter of fact, one of my students was like, you listen to that music? And the other student was like, yeah. He was like, all right, we'll be in hell together. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that whole thing of let's guilt trip these people. I'm going off and I'm chasing a rabbit. I am my father's child. All right, I'm chasing a rabbit right now. But let me just go there. You gotta set, if you want to be a godly woman, you can talk all day long, but how is your life being lived? I'm not listening to nobody. It's like if I go to a hairstylist and that hairstylist hair is a hot mess, I'm not sitting in your chair.
Right.
I'm not sitting in your chair. Your hair better be laid. You know what I'm saying? Same for a dentist. I'm not sitting in a dentist chair and he ain't got no teeth. You know what I'm saying? If you want me, I mean, I'm just being like,
why you got gums though? Why you looking up like
exactly? So if you want me to hear anything that you're saying, what are you living? And one of the first things I'm going to do to go back to this subject is I'm going on your social media. What are you posting? Who you? I mean, that's the quickest access that we have today. You know, so. You know, just making sure that all aspects of your life are exuding this example of a godly woman.
I mean, for me, like, your light has to shine.
Yeah.
Like, we could have on the same exact thing. You know, we could, but the light from inside is going to shine if one of us is godly and one of us isn't. You know, and you'll find that, like, you know, Trini said, people are looking for the difference. People are dying for the difference. And so if your light is shining, you could be at work. And when someone has a problem, they're not going to look for the person that tells the funniest, bad, you know, nasty joke. No. They're going to come and look for the person whose light is shining and say, hey, you got a minute? You know, can I talk to you? I want to share something with you. Or sometimes just like a handshake. The person will break down. I mean, you've experienced it. Like, you've been at work and you just say, you know, good morning, how you do? And you're like, well, I didn't say nothing. But your light shines because that's what people need. And so for me, it goes back to that standard. Like, you've got to determine in yourself, like you said, Danielle, I've got to make up in my mind that I'm going to look different. I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world. And what does that mean for me? And once I make that decision, then my light's going to shine. I won't have to tell anyone, oh, I'm a Christian, I go to church, I'm in this training. They're going to say, there's something different about you.
And not only that, just know that in setting standards, this is where we want to go with it. Everybody who rocking with you now may not rock with you. Right? Like you may lose somebody on your journey, but God will always replace who you lose. Better, right? Like, I think about the person I am at 38 opposed to the person I was at 25. Opposed to the person I was at 14, 15, 16. I have out of all of high school, and I wasn't like the popular girl in school, but I was popular, right? You know, I had friends in high school. I have one friend from high school that I talk to every day, or one like, and if we don't talk face to face every day, we texting or messenger, but her and I speak every single day. She's the only female friend from high school that I have like that, you know? And so it's not because, you know, I became now, when I turned 16 and found Jesus, everybody was going to hell.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's going to hell. But I was like, you going to hell, you and you, plus you going, like, I was putting, if you want to walk in right, you were going to hell. But I had religion, not relationship. And so what I found, though, was that if you walk with God long enough, He's the best teacher. He's the best teacher. Especially, and I, like my best friend I was talking the other day, and we were talking about how women drives are horrible, right? And I was saying to her, I said, you know, it's because innately in us, we're competing, even in driving. Like, you're not gonna get over for me. You're not gonna do the light before me. We're just innate. We're like, no, you are not. No, stop right. And you get to work. You're like crazy. You get to work. You're like, you see her, and I'm happy, and you beeping, right? And so you're doing all this extra stuff, but it's simply because somewhere in your mind, you're competing with the car beside you. You don't even know who's in the car. But innately, as women, we just compete with each other. We just, I don't want you to be better than me. And when you, and that don't stop happening when you get saved.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. Stop happening.
Competition comes from comparison, though. And
Oh,
a lot of times
shucks
we
now.
compete with whom we compare ourselves to. So I've looked at you, and there's something about you that I felt might be a little bit better, or my light needs to be shined, or I need to be seen before you. So you're going to compete because we're always comparing, but we're kind of taught to compare. Like, look at that little girl, she's so pretty, and you're standing there like, well, what about me? But so that's one aspect. But another thing I keep hearing is godly women don't worry.
Ooh.
Godly women don't rest in anxiety. Godly women pray about everything and worry about nothing, right? So when we're talking about continuing to walk with God, it's like, he ends up working stuff out. Doesn't mean it's going to be pretty every single day, but we know that at his appointed time, he said he makes all things beautiful. So if I'm a godly woman, not only am I not worrying, I'm sharing my testimony and talking to others so they won't worry either.
So I actually went to an all-girls school, Spelman College, the #1 historically black college in the nation, in case anyone wanted to know.
You like a plug for Spelman.
But that was one thing that they really pushed. And they didn't mean harm by it, because it did help us all do very well. That's why we're #1. But because we were all black women, that was one thing that they really pushed, and that was the competition, competing. You are competing. This is your sister. Y'all have a sisterhood, but at the end of the day, you are competing in this real life world. And so that was something that I had to figure out. I had to work with God on too, because what I found was that a lot of the things like, oh, she's trying to compete with me, or she's trying to, and what it really was kind of similar to what you were saying. It was me on the inside developing these delusional competitions, like, oh, she thinks she's better, or you think you're better. And so now we have this rift, and the other person's like, I mean, we competing over the same job, but I mean, regardless who got it, we still cool. And I'm like, no, I gotta make sure my hair is straight, and I gotta be there before her. And God's like, let me tell you, what's for you, what's for you.
What? Say it one more time for the camera.
It's for you. It's for you. And so it's like, you can compete all day long, and you can do this, you can do that. But if that is not what God has a part of the puzzle, you can just forget it. Just know whatever thing I do have for you will be a part of the puzzle, and it'll be exceedingly abundantly above all you could ever ask or think when it comes to competing with that other person. So just know, be comfortable, be confident in whatever God has for you. Don't worry about what someone else is doing. What God has for you is for you. Their journey is their journey, your journey is yours. You can't tap into their journey, they can't tap into yours.
But what you can do is hinder your journey by stalking somebody else's.
That's right.
Like it's stalking. Like
purpose.
I tell you all the time, don't walk in my heels. You can't. You can't walk in my heels, right? You know what? You really cannot walk in my heels. Wedges. Me too. But the thing is though that so many of us we're trying, right? Like we see somebody like if I'm a preacher, and I have a friend's a preacher. And I go, I want to preach like her. No, I don't want to preach like you. I want to preach how God told me to preach. Right, yeah. My style of preaching is handmade, handcrafted, hand designed for me. And so if I'm trying to do what you're doing, I'm going to jack it up because that ain't what I'm called to do. No. And so a part of being godly is being secure in who you are. A part of being godly is saying, God, well, I'm 5'4" or 6'2". God, you created me and you don't make junk. Matter of fact, you broke the mold when you created me. It's not about being arrogant, but it's about being confident in who you are and who you are today. Now, tomorrow you may be somebody else. A year from now, you may be half of you. Maybe 2 sides of you. You may be a miss. You may have added somebody else's last name. But love who you are right now, because who you are right now prepares you for who you're going to be tomorrow. That's being God. It's not looking at her going, I want to my sister who are married. Whoever your husband is, you are handcrafted and handpicked to be that man's husband. I mean, to be that man's wife. So I can't come in. Look, I can't come in.
You have a hard time finding me, whoever you are. So you
but when you hurry up, though. But I'm just saying.
Y'all praying for my husband. But he just having a hard time finding me.
You plotting and planning for somebody else's husband. Boo! Boo! Let me. That's what's happening. We hide behind titles, right? And we broken. And godly is knowing your worth. You are worth more than being somebody's side chick. You are worth more than being somebody's secret. Why can't he call you on a day? I didn't know. Boo, you knew. And I don't know who this is for because I don't know where this is coming out of me from, but it's coming, so I'm going to go with it. I'm looking directly at the camera because I need for you to know you are worth more than that. Yeah. You are worth more than being somebody's part-time lover. I know that it's good for 10 seconds, maybe 3 minutes if he's really good at what he do. However, when he gets up out the bed and he walks away and you left feeling like the scum on the bottom of somebody, he ain't telling none of his friends about you. Y'all not going on nobody's date. You only meet in the hotel room. You only meet in the back of a car. Baby, God has more in life for you. And a part of you being godly is you knowing your worth. If you don't get nothing else that Trinice says, hear me when I say this, you are worth more than that. You have to know your own value. You have to know that God made you. God created you, and God does not desire you to be treated as some second-class citizen. If he's talking down on you, he ain't the one. If he's smacking you around, he ain't the one. If he's telling you what you can't do, what you can do, he ain't the one. Know your worth. In 2019, know who God created you to be. Fix your crown, leave him alone, and deuces.
Yeah, right. I mean, the plate we've been talking about?
Pass it. I'm telling you, because, I mean, you staying with those dead relationships and stuff, you know, that's hindering who God has for you in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And so you're too busy trying to hold on to this man who does not want you, and he's told you multiple times that you're the side chick and he'll never leave his wife, but you think you can change him.
Wrong.
You can't change a man. He's always, let me tell you, especially when a man, because men sometimes, they have a problem being way too honest. So when he's telling you that he's not leaving his wife, and you think because you have you think you're cuter than his wife, or you think you have this, or you have that, or you're gonna pay him, or all these other things you have stored up in your mind. He's told you from the get go he's not leaving his wife. So you are hindering while you're too busy chasing after him, while he's chasing after his wife. You're too busy chasing after him. God's like, I have somebody for you, but God is not going to honor you and give you a husband because you don't deserve it. And just think, while you being the side chick, one day maybe you will be married, and you don't want to be that person that's dating a man who is dating a side chick. So just know what goes around always comes back around.
And if he comes, do you want him? Could you ever really trust
them? Exactly.
I don't know that I could. And the foundation of love is trust. For me, if I can't trust you, I can't love you, because there's a vulnerability there. So if we even think about the foundation of our godliness is based on the fact that we trust God. So when we trust God, we don't have to sin or manipulate or move things to make things happen, because I love him so much, that I trust him so much, that he has me. Yes. So if I'm being corrupt in my spending, or if I'm stealing to make things happen, or if I'm lying, or even if I'm cheating on my taxes, claiming other people's babies, because I want to make this thing happen. I mean, keep it 1,000. It's tax season, right?
You
got child. Okay. But you know, it's that subtle stuff that is acceptable in the world. That is that thin line stuff. Am I saying that I'm always on the right side of the thin line? No. But I'm striving because of my trust and my love for God. And the fact that I don't want to bless me. I want him to bless me, because my blessings are giant raggedy. So they don't come with a warranty. They're pretty temporary. But those blessings and abundances that come from him, they just feel right.
Yeah. So can I ask a quick question to the group? So how does the standard of a woman in society differ than what a godly woman should be in today's society? Well, I'm gonna tell you from my perspective as a millennial, as somebody that's 23 years old, and I'll just say it's very, very different. You know what I'm saying? And it's different from when my mom. So I grew up. My parents were, I guess you could say, older. You know, compared to like other parents or whatever, but. You know, I grew up very old-fashioned. You know, when it came to dating, for example, my mom was like, you know, he opens the doors. He comes to the door, to your home door. He meets the man of the house. He pulls your chair out. My mom was like, don't you ever call a man. Don't ever call him. Don't ever text him. He always texts you first. He is the chaser because men were created to hunt. My professor told me that at Spelman College one time. Men were created to hunt. And so now that I'm dating and stuff, one thing that I've noticed, and also, so obviously like the basic things like, you know, the man pays for the date, things like that, you know. And so now when I'm dating, though, I'm dating guys that did not grow up in an old-fashioned home. So their parents were like, you know, 16, 17. So they kind of grew up kind of close to the generation that we were in. And so they don't, so when I talk to guys and they're like, oh, you ain't never hit me up. Well, I was taught you don't text the man first. You let the man text you first. Or, you know, when we're out and I'm sitting in the car and he's like, why aren't you getting out the car? I'm like, because you haven't opened my door yet. So so it's like, and I've experienced that. So it's like trying to figure out, and so that's why I think it's so important when we talk about dating, you know, just trusting God and allowing God to bring that man into your life, because he that found a wife found the good thing. And so I've stopped trying to seek out. I've stopped trying to, like you were saying before, going out to, you know, parties. And because someone told me that, like, girl, you got to go out more. You got to do this. You got to do that. Let me tell you, who God has for me, I'm going to be in the right place at the right time. Right. The Bible says for the appointed time, it would not delay. It would not worry. So I trust that whatever time, wherever I will be, that's where I need to be when my husband comes. But that's my standard when it comes to dating. Like, and I think it's worked for my mom. It's worked for me, because the guys that I've attracted, when I take on her perspective, even though it's old fashioned, you know, a lot of people talk about me concerning that, it works for me. And the type of guy that I attract when I have those standards is always the type of guy that I can see myself married, as opposed to the new standard, which is it has to be 50-50. You have to text him first all the time. You have to, you know, it's like, I'm not, as a woman, I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant or anything like that, but I'm not chasing you.
What?
I'm not trying to.
You always be chasing.
Exactly. You gotta break them in right.
No.
I learned that at 38. I just learned that.
Yeah. But you know what? I think that as it comes to you know, millennials, you know, I have a lot of millennials at my church, and I think that it really goes back to, like, you can't lower your standards. Like, whatever you have set as the standard, you have to put that up front. If the expectation is that you open the door for me, then I'm going to put that up front. If you cannot meet that standard, then clearly you're not the one for me.
No, I feel
like I have a 19-year-old, you know, son, and he is, like, you know, at that cusp with that whole millennial stuff. But as his mother, you know, I have certain standards, and so I need you to find a woman that not necessarily meets my standards, but meets God's standards. You know, and so what does the Bible say about, you know, you leading, guiding, and protecting the woman that you meet? And so you've got to attract those based on what you put out. And so when my son and I go out, I will stand there and wait for him to open the door. You know, and so even now, like, he will hold the door and let women come through. And they're like, oh my goodness, he's such a and it gets in my mind, that's what he should be doing.
But it's so foreign, though. It's so foreign. It's because we stopped setting the standards. And what and I tell you, and we're gonna talk about dating and all that on next month. In the love month. But all right, we're gonna talk about that. But what I've learned is that men will respond to a standard. They will respond if there's no standard. Right? And at 38, I'm just learning, because at 38 I've realized that I spent more time chasing. Right? Because I just wanted it so badly. I wasn't chasing because I'm hot in the pants. It was, I just wanted it. No, I wanted people that just always wanted to be married.
Thank you for being real.
Always wanted, you know, to be just one-on-one. We building this thing together. When I started my life at 38, I was on child number 3. We had a nice house, no picket fences, because I ain't want dogs. No picket fences. But you know, but it was that thing, right? And so at 38, I was like, Lord, have you forgotten about, you know, me? It was that kind of thing. But God had to show me that, baby girl, where are your standards? Right? I was taking whatever came my way, just so and girl, you know the story. Just so I could say I had somebody. Just so I could say I wasn't alone. It's nothing wrong with being alone and getting to know you.
But you know what?
Getting to love you.
To share your story. You know, very, very small. The people that you attach, that you try to pull, they couldn't hang.
No.
Because the light, that godly woman, that light, that thing was so bright.
Yeah.
Jokers were being blinded. I mean, they was dropping off like, when you
Because God literally, he will force. He will literally take his hand and end a relationship. I mean, I saw that so many times. And one thing my dad always told me, don't ever bring a project home. Don't bring no projects home. And so when I'm dating somebody or when I meet somebody, I always do a little a think back in my head like, are you a project?
I'm telling you.
And it's a quick question. And if it's usually it's yes or no. It's not like a well maybe. Usually it's like, and it's the Holy Spirit telling me like, he's a project. Why you can't fix nobody else? I'm still trying to fix you.
Ooh,
how you trying to fix somebody else? You
well,
know?
yeah. You know, I'm there, but I'm not there, and I don't want to go too deep in the dating thing. But because we're all a work in progress, does your work and my work line up? So it's not that you're right. If he's a total project and I gotta build you from the ground up, just go ahead.
And you already know what you do.
Throw the whole man away. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, away from me.
that water.
She was like,
you know. But if our work is kind of, because iron is going to sharpen iron, so that means there's something dull in both of our lives. So if my sharp can sharpen your sharper and vice versa, we're good. But you talked about at first godly women and just standards in general, standards of the world. I think one of the biggest misnomers that have hit our generation is all my ladies who's independent.
Yeah.
Throw your hands up at me. I don't need nobody. I don't need a man. I don't need friends. So this fake isolation that breeds depression, that breeds a lack of self-esteem, that breeds poorly socialized people who can't even sit down and hold a conversation because we lie. We got 1,500 followers, but not any friends. No one's really calling you. No one's calling you. If your birthday comes up, you don't even. I mean, you getting all this on your wall, but you're sitting in the house.
What?
You know,
by yourself.
By yourself. So something in the world is
okay. You like your own picture.
We taking the million selfies you can take. But the reality is the world is going to the world standard is going to make you feel like you can do this on your own. That's the biggest lie. And you feel like you're stronger because you pulled yourself up by your little bootstraps or whatever, and you're walking this life by yourself. And that's a lie. And that's the world standard.
That's right.
Is to be independent. God's standard is to depend on one another.
Yeah,
right. And we need. Wait. Before we continue to go, we gotta get final thoughts. I know this is a good topic, but we gotta.
Okay.
I feel like this might be a live. Might do a live on this one. Let's do a live on this one. But you know, we come up almost an hour of talking. And so I need us to do final thoughts. And so we're going to go around the table and do final thoughts. We always start on this side and come back around. So
my final thought is, godly woman, it should never be a surprise when you say you know the Lord. People should not be like, wow, you? So if you're truly a godly woman, when you profess that thing, you don't even have to say it with your mouth. People already suspect it. But when you do verbalize it, no one should look like they never thought that about you beforehand.
Yeah. Godly women, let your life shine.
All right. Short and sweet. I would say, ask God, what is a godly woman? Because we can define what a godly woman is all day long, but your definition of a godly woman may look different than our definition of a godly woman. It's who you are. It's who God has created you to be. It's your personality traits, your strengths, your weaknesses. So talk to God. That's when relationship comes in. Talk to God. Ask God, Lord, what does it look like for me to be a godly woman? And I think it's to go on to the dating topic, as you develop and learn about who you are as a godly woman, you will attract the godly man that God wants you to marry.
All right. I think for me, my final thought would be, godly women know your worth. So I said to say, know your worth. When you know your worth, walk in your worth. So you have to acknowledge it, you have to embrace it, and you have to strut in. You have to walk in, you have to own it. And that to me is being godly. And then being godly is being loved. It's giving love, but being open to receive love. Amen?
Amen.
So we will see you guys next week on what?
Queen
Chronicles The Series. Have a blessed evening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.